You know that feeling you're in a conversation, just nodding along, smiling, but you have no idea what's being said. And you're secretly praying you didn't just agree to something crazy, like, I don't know, adopting a llama? Yeah, it happens. So today, we're going to dive into how to handle those super noisy, really confusing chats so you can actually understand what's going on. Okay, tell me this doesn't look familiar, right? You've got the buzz of 100 conversations all at once, the clatter of plates. It is a total communication minefield. You're trying your best to connect with someone, but honestly, the noise is just winning. So let's take a look at a conversation that gets completely swallowed by all that chaos. So, to really see how this all plays out, we're going to do a little eavesdropping. We're going to listen in on a conversation that goes, well, completely off the rails. Let's meet our two characters, Jason and Botter. Their simple chat is about to get totally hijacked by all the noise. All right, so the scene is a super loud restaurant. I mean, to put it mildly, this place is jam-packed. Jason and Bodge think they're having a normal conversation, totally on the same page. But the noise, it has other plans. Let's listen. All right, let's break this down. We're going to go through their chat bit by bit and find the exact moments where things start to go wrong. And you'll see the key is in these very specific and sometimes pretty confusing words they're using. Okay, so Bodger starts things off. He says he had to elbow his way through the crowd just to get some munchies. And right here, this is where the trouble begins. His language is just full of idioms. Those tricky little phrases that don't mean what they literally say. So think about it. If English isn't your first language, or maybe you just misheard one word over that background roar, you'd be totally lost already, right? And believe me, this is just the beginning of the whole breakdown. And here it is, the perfect example of how words just get completely twisted in the noise. Badger says some guy is a bit boring, but what does Jason hear? He hears snoring. Now, yeah, from the outside looking in, it's kind of funny, but when you're the one in that conversation, it is just so frustrating. And this is it, the breaking point. Badger is completely fed up. When he says he can't deal with it anymore, that's the signal. He's hit his limit. The conversation has officially failed. So the big question is, how are you supposed to keep up with a conversation like that? It feels impossible, doesn't it? But it's not. There's a secret, and it's all about learning to decode the real talk that's hiding inside all that noise. Okay, so let's put on our detective hats. We're going to become language detectives for a minute and break down all of those confusing phrases that Jason and Bodger were throwing around. That way you'll know exactly what they actually mean. All right, here's our cheat sheet. This is basically the real talk decoder we need. It's going to help us turn all that confusing slang into simple, clear ideas. Let's go through them one by one. First up, we've got jam-packed. And this one's pretty simple, right? It just means a place is super, super crowded. Like a jar that's packed with jam. Next up, to elbow one's way. You can literally picture this one, can't you? It's that motion of using your elbows to kind of nudge your way through a really dense crowd. And that's exactly what Badra was talking about. And what was he trying to get to? The munchies. This is just a fun slang word for snacks. We're talking chips, pretzels, anything crunchy. The key here is that he wasn't looking for a whole dinner, just a quick snack. Okay, and remember when Badger hit his breaking point? He said he couldn't deal with the noise? Well, that just means he couldn't tolerate it, he couldn't put up with it for one more second. It's pretty much the universal signal for I'm out of here. And last but not least, what was their solution? They decided to go get a bite. Now, this isn't about literally biting an apple or something. It just means getting a small meal or a snack. It was their escape plan to get away from all that noise. Okay, so now we know how to understand all these phrases. That's great. But what do you do when you're in Jason's shoes, when you literally just can't hear? Well, you need a toolkit for getting some clarity. Look, instead of just doing that awkward nod and smile, hoping for the best, there are so many better ways to ask someone to say that again. It's all about taking control of the conversation so that you actually understand what's being said. And here they are. These phrases range from something really simple, like, pardon me, to something more specific, like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part. Seriously, having a couple of these in your back pocket is so empowering. It lets you stop the confusion before it even starts. So please, don't ever be afraid to use them. All right, so we've decoded the slang and we've built our toolkit for asking for clarity. Now it's time to put it all together and really talk about why this stuff matters so much in our day-to-day lives.
Just take this for example. Let's say a recipe calls for 2 cups of flour, but over the noise of the kitchen mixer, you hear 2 cups of flour. One tiny, tiny difference, right? But suddenly you've got a floral disaster on your hands instead of a delicious cake. It's a kind of funny example, but it really shows how even the smallest miscommunications can have, well, big, messy consequences.
And really, that's the heart of it all. Good, clear communication isn't just about speaking perfectly. It's about creating a two-way street. It's about making it safe and easy for the other person to just raise their hand and say, hey, hang on, I missed that. Can you say it again?
So I want to leave you with this to think about. What's the most important conversation you've ever had to rescue from the noise? And noise doesn't just have to be a loud room. Maybe it was a bad phone connection, or maybe it was just a chaotic family dinner. When was a time you really had to fight to make sure you truly, truly understood what was being said? It's something to think about.